What up, y'all? So this is gonna be the first of a few videos that I'm finally gonna do back. I've been enjoying my time off and other stuff that I've been doing more than getting to the nitty gritty and putting myself in the suffering den recording videos for you. So I've been meaning to record this video since before I went on my work hiatus, and this is gonna rewind the tracks a little bit because I was thinking about putting this video on offense, but it makes more sense for me to put this back in the reward sourcing section. Anything else? For the footage that is here, actually has no pertainment unless it somehow comes up to the topic at hand, by the way. I just haven't been able to look at this footage at all myself. This is the footage from Frosty Frostings 2026. Since I was too busy working and doing other things because I run an event inside the event, plus I do other stuff because that's how it works. I haven't had the chance to actually look at the Rev 2 footage. So this is for me to start that and do etc. I'm gonna try to keep this as my quickest I'm mad at why are we here lecture, but let's rock. This was streamed by TNS. I can't tell you the members off top without saying like government names, and I'm not gonna do that. So streamed by TNS. Yes, I just can't remember who's there off top up for the stream team. Team by handle. Commentary, if I recall, is Clage and Sammy Fish. Homies. Let's get into it. So what I'm rewinding the tracks for this. The big thing that I want to talk about, especially Persona children are the biggest problem with this. But in general, I think from some of the cool aspect of people picking up fighting games, especially like if you have any like interest in how psychologically you connect with fighting games, reads. And the biggest thing that I'm going to get in this, and this is also probably going to be the title of this video, hard baiting is fucking stupid. I'm just going to legit. Hard baiting is the stupidest thing you could possibly do. What is my reason behind that? So, the whole thing about hard baiting, um, the reason why I find it extremely stupid is because the fact that if you're paying attention to rewinding the times back to my resource section, and I talked about what is a resource, the big thing about understanding what is a resource is understanding your opponent's resources are also your resources. And let's get into more details about that. And it looks like it might actually show up in this soon. It will depend on if Johnny gets hit or not. Johnny got a hit. So the big thing about resources is that you have to keep in mind that your ability to sit there and push your offense and push your game also relies on how your opponent uses their quote unquote resources, which is what makes them also your resources. Like in the case of Ogi-chan here, Ogi-chan playing Johnny is such a diabolical character in Rev 2, especially what's in the corner because things can happen, that you can force a burst out so early from people because they just don't want to be in the situation of being in the corner against Johnny. This is also a thing about freaking Rev 1, an Elf Felt, and etc., where these certain characters that carry so much momentum and they're so volatile in certain conditions that they can force resources out of you faster than normal. And that is depending on if your opponent actually wants to use the resource that fast than normal. Because this is a terrible situation to be in. Because then you get level 3 misfindered and then you explode. It is actually crazy how convenient some of these VODs are once I look at them and I do these recordings. But, like, you have to play around that. Because the fact that the way you choose to interact with a resource like Burst, and I'm going to heavily start talking about Burst meta because that's the main reason I'm making this freaking video. The thing about playing around Burst is that, like, it is a defensive and offensive tool in a lot of modern anime fighting games, but even then, the thing is that, keep in mind, I mean, you ideally don't want them to have that, so the best way for them to not have it is for them to use it. And here's the thing is that if you're trying to hard read it, because that's what a hard bait is, you're trying to hard read it, you're now giving up your offense with the hopes that in that moment they burst, which is like in a case like this, where I'm funny enough gonna go back. The reason Ogi-chan didn't burst here is because literally after this setup, unless it was bursted immediately, and I mean immediately, everything was burst safe. Like you had to burst as soon as the air dash happened for you to burst out of that. So you have to play around the fact that like legitimately you have to sit there and deal with the fact that you are playing around with the fact that there are so many ways to bait burst that's not just hard baiting. There are burst saves. There's structuring your combo to have burst baits in it without throwing away your combo. So I can think of many cases like this where there's ways to naturally route that in where you don't have to forcibly do it, where you just stop everything to do it and put yourself in a bad situation because situations like this is what you want because again, look at what happened. And RTW bursted. Now they have no burst, and now Johnny can just do things if you get a hit. Like you legitimately can just start doing things. Like, and it's like, why force the situation for them to not have a burst? When you can just be like, all right, burst. I could care less. And then that way you can sit there and start really pushing your offense in different ways. Because keep in mind, if you're playing like suboptimal before and you're just playing safe, once they don't have a burst, they have no get out tool out of your combos. So then at that point, you can now optimize better if you want to sit there and do that and then sit there and take more risk on how you optimize your combos for damage. And then and there you can just start making people explode, and that also works the burst meta because then you're trying to sit there and kill them before they gain it back. That was crazy. So like there's so many ways to play around like just the concept of bursting. And like one thing again, I'm gonna talk about burst meta because there's waves to burst meta, and I think I should talk about them. And I'm not like the general perspective burst meta, and I'm not gonna consider for my children that play a game where they think shadows are good or better or really shadows are better than what they are, and talk about how shadow meta works in comparison to that. But if you are wondering how that works in comparison to that, I actually have a text log of that in one of my threads in the TA channel. But like, here's the thing about burst meta. Like the whole thing about burst and like the basic of burst meta, especially in most anime games, you're not going to burst generally until you're in the condition where you will get guts. Any game that has guts, you are not trying to burst until you get guts. Because the reason being is the fact that at that point you have the extra defensive bonus from the concept of guts, so you're waiting to burst around then. But this also means for the person that is leading in offense and leading in advantage in the game through health, keep in mind that you now have different ways to play around that existence of that guts mechanism too. Because now you could also sit there and forward load all your optimizations. So then you try to put them as far as they can into guts. So therefore, guts isn't as impactful as it would be if they burst at the beginning of where guts would be activated in their health bar. Now, keep in mind too that let's say you burst early, and I'm gonna say this in a case like a character like Dizzy here. In a case like Dizzy or any Keepaway or Zoner character, bursting early also works in a different style of meta to understanding burst. Because at this point, you sit there and control the tempo and pace of the game so much that the earlier your burst, you might be able to sit there and force yourself to get another burst back within the same round. And this is something that's historically known in Blaze Blue as Murakumo bursting, for which would be for Lambda, Mew 12, and New 13. Those characters, they're traditionally known to burst even earlier because of you burst early in the fact that you control so much of the momentum and everything that's happening. You can sit there and force the fact that you can slow the game down enough, you can get burst multiple times. Is it not cutting? This is TNS VOD. Is it actually not cutting? That's crazy. I'll let it rock. So you get into that unique case where it's like just from the beginning of a match, there's multiple ways you can use burst to play around with. That's not as simple as like burst at guts or burst at the top of your health bar. Plus, there's bursting in the middle, like momentum bursting and everything too. There's so many ways to play around burst because momentum bursting is actually, funny enough, something that basically happened in the last set. And I don't remember the other player here that's not Zwynot. I don't remember who they play. Ram. This is might actually be a case where momentum bursting comes into it. Because of the fact that both of these characters are extremely momentum heavy, we're the point where it's like you can get set played to death and slash or just deal with bullshit to death. So this might be a case where momentum bursting comes into play, where it's not a burst deliberately for advantage or anything. Or in the concept of Murakuma bursting. This is a case where we get into why is it so convenient? Where you're playing around the fact that you don't want someone to have momentum, which is what Zwei actually attempted here. I guarantee this was a don't get started slash momentum burst where it's like, I don't want you to have momentum. The same way it can be done on offense where if you have someone here, oh, it's Solstice. I like haven't seen Solstice in so long. I forgot what Solstice looks like. There is the other case where you can be running your offense, but as soon as you get touched, you burst them back into the corner. This is something where I explain this heavily for a character like Arkwood in current code. Because Arkwood and Kohaku gain so much meter in combo, they basically can loop max mode as they choose if you know how to optimize for meter. And in that case, as soon as you get touched, you can just burst someone back into the corner and they have to hold that. But here's the risk of, again, momentum bursting. And this is what all burst meta, you have the risk of getting baited. But there's a difference once you have your bait naturally in your combo. The way this combo works, because I used to play Ram, you're doing double 5P, which you're doing really 4P, 4P, which making it so if someone bursts, you can freaking block it in the middle of it. It's an automatic OS. But the thing is, you still get the full corner carrying combo from here through all of her target combo follow ups or Gatling combo follow ups, however you want to address them, because it's anime and it's not Street Fighter. Like you can do all of that and naturally beta burst without throwing away any of your combo structure. Instead of like, let me stop my whole entire combo and like try to bait this burst. This was naturally a part of the combo, which is the thing is that that's what I want to get into. Like, because now you can naturally put someone in a situation while also maintaining your offense like this without throwing anything away. Good shit's why. So there's like you have to keep in mind that like there's multiple ways to play around burst meta. So instead of hard trying to focus on one way you think someone might burst, it's better off for you to sit there and just structure yourself for once you're doing offense to naturally be able to bait it without throwing anything away, which is why I think hard baiting is so dumb because there are so many ways in all the fighting games to just structure for any like any retaliation like DPs and stuff like that on wake up. That's what a safe jump is for. Or any displaced Oki tool that you have. If you have like projectiles to do Oki or etc. Like bursting, like for example, it's like you could just structure that into your combo. There's so many ways to structure that into your combo, which is like having moves that are low committal that also still work for your combo structure where you block. Uh, Having multiple ways to set up jump cancels into your combos. Moves. Like especially the tech of no one really abuses it at all. Of if you have jump cancelable normals, holding 7 while abusing buffering mechanics in a lot of anime fighting games really does a lot of work once it comes to like naturally baiting things. because you can just force so many interactions of like, oh, if I think you're gonna burst, I'm just gonna buffer up back, and because of the way I buffer up back, I can still do my normals and then sit there and also press buttons. Like you can do that in a lot of games. Persona and BlazBlue would be king, and I mean king of that. Like anything on that engine is like straight up king of being able to do. So it's like it gets to a point where it's like, do you really want to take the risk, knowing how fighting games work, to sit there and hard bait somebody? Like why take the time to hard bait when you're literally putting yourself at risk in certain cases? You sit there and hard bait because if you drop and there's a character like either of these two on the screen where momentum is the whole entire thing, and you literally can get hit once and then get momentum, like you can just lose. Like, and that can happen even in Blaze Blue, who and Persona and any other anime game. Like earlier Uni, for example, where it's like you could be winning the game for a whole while and then you get hit once and you die. And I'm not considering Unib, I'm talking about like Uni 2, Uni Clear. Like Londrakia's first existence, you get hit by 5B in VO happens, you lost 7k. For anime Street Fighter, right? You lost 7k because you got hit by basically his footsie tool. Same way I can think of like in a case like not Rev 2 that's on the screen. Like let's talk Blaze Blue. Terrami is known to hold OD as long as he possibly can, and you might be waiting to bait his burst, but you have to keep in mind his OD is so effective he might not want to burst because he can touch you the one time in OD, and that one time in OD could kill you. Also, I'm so surprised that killed on OG. Like there are so many ways to like actually interact with mechanics that are defensive that can change the flow of tempo and the flow of offense that you really should just structure around them versus trying to hard bait them. The more you try to structure around, the better your offense actually will generally be. Which is why originally I was trying to play this in the offensive section, but then I realized it's like I should just put this on resources because this is a heavy resource thing and paying attention to how resources. This is not specifically tied just to bursting. Like bursting has been the main topic of this, but this is also the meter usage. You have to think about reversals too. Like if someone has a whole bunch of meter, and you know they can sit there and do super RC or any, they might use a super for reversal. It's like you can structure it for that reversal instead of going out of your way to try to hard bait it. Like, why go out of your way to hard bait it if you can structure around it? Which is again where safe jumps come into play. Putting blocking into your offensive structure and jump cancels into your offensive structure come into play. There's all these other things you can do that don't immediately tie you to, oh man, let me hard bait this thing that sucks to deal with all the time. Like you're putting yourself more at risk. Like don't get me wrong, and there are some cornball things in the existence of fighting games where it's like it might feel like you have to hard bait it. Like there's plenty of things I could list off top where it's like it feels kind of clown shoes or cornball to sit there and try to hard bait. Like Easy Oi Super because it's so massive. It would be one. Power Slash from Margaret. I'm trying to really think of one for Xrd. There's a couple of things, but I can't think of which one's more potently stupid in Xrd. Um, so Xrd is Xrd. It's hard for me to think of one, and or it's more like Guilty Gear is Guilty Gear. It's hard for me to think of Run because even in different versions of Guilty Gear, it's like there's so many stupid ass things in this game. We still love it though. That should kill. Yeah. So like getting out of the me trying to think of what the hell. Um, things I forgot we did on production this year. Getting out of the weird concept of trying to remember what toxic moves exist. It's like there are so many ways to structure around something where you don't need to sit there and hard bait it. You are putting way more effort in the hard baiting than you are to just structuring around the existence of something. And with most of that being my lecture for now, and I got other videos to drop. I'm also gonna go back and do something I should have done forever ago and said fuck somebody else. Because even with the work being done, there's a lot of routes I don't see for a character, and I started the playlist and then didn't finish it. Expect a lot of videos to drop, but they probably will not be conceptual yap videos. I have other things to do that I'm going to drop videos for. Um, so if you see this swath of Mitsuru things starting tomorrow, it's because of the fact that I forgot to do that forever ago, and I'm just like, let me just do this shit finally. But other than that, I'm gonna leave y'all to the video. I'm probably gonna turn up the audio so y'all can just listen to that. And later, y'all enjoy some Rev 2.
Nice confirmed from Mayumas. Not going to be enough to close it out, but one more hit for either player will get this first round on deck. The beat driver does not connect with the extent, but the air grab, and Mayumas up 1-0 in game one.
Yeah, just the ability to have a meter lead on your opponent in round-ending situations, pause the screen and come up with the perfect answer.
Yeah, beautiful use there from Mayumas. So close. Bull Bash connects, not the biggest of all time, but still.
Wait, before I do that, I'm not playing the whole. I'm not playing the rest of this whole entire match or the whole VOD. I'm just gonna play the rest of this match. So whenever this match ends, and then actually later, y'all from there.